Beautiful. Good evening, folks. It is July 12th, 6 p.m. We are conducting our selectmen's meeting. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see. Mr. Banish, how about you can start us off with a pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, folks. All right, so first up, it looks like will be public comment. So if anyone in the audience would like to make a public comment, please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Cynthia Marshall, Oakfield Road. Carvana has said that they do not need a used car license from the town. They've said it once on June 8th through Rebecca, of course. And I believe somebody asked them that at the meeting a few weeks ago here, at the planning board meeting. And that they said they were going to use their state license because they have multiple locations in Massachusetts. But I have checked with one local dealer here who had two separate locations, 200 feet apart. And he needed two separate state licenses from the state and two permits from the licensing board, which is you. Do you plan on issuing Carvana that permit after they get their stuff? They need a separate state license for that.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Diane Gale, 5 Point Grove Road. Nothing confrontational. I just want to understand the process. Do you ever answer these comments? What's the?
So public comment, my understanding is just for you to make a public comment if it's not on the agenda.
Or question?
Public comment. It's not a question and answer back and forth. Because as you would know, I would maybe not have the answer to that question.
So
And God forbid I answered your question and not hers, right? Then it just blows up into a big mushroom cloud. So it's public comment. I hear you loud and clear. I've heard you, or I've heard Cindy. So I take that in and I'll digest it, I guess, right? But I'm not here to go back and forth. You know, if there was two people in the audience with a simple question about if a dog bit somebody or if a cat got out, I would probably answer that. But when it comes to this, I'm not gonna go back and forth. It's public comment. So that's where we're at. I should have explained that last 2 weeks ago and I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, so just so I understand. So if we have anything to say or at some later date, you don't come back and address them?
I don't know if I'll come back to it or not. It's for you to have a public comment and you're more than welcome to. And I am listening, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Do you have one? Just that? Okay. Does anyone else have a public comment? Hi.
I'm still on the 113 South Lewis Street. And the meeting with planning board 2 weeks ago, I personally found out for the first time coming from information from the representatives of Carvana that we were going to have thousands of cars being tested. I can't remember if it was on a daily basis or weekly basis, but there were thousands of cars came. And they would be tested here in town. So that is a big concern because it's going to add a lot to traffic and possible accidents, and that is my concern.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
James Long, 77 Tannery Road. There's a lot of information that is now coming out since we had the planning board meeting with Carvana, with information that they originally supplied being very different than they talked about, such as the water going from 9,000 gallons per day to 24 to 25,000 gallons per day, more than 3 times the amount. They also said that they weren't sure how many employees they would have. They talked about the new cars being driven on roads, traffic report, I think, was inadequate. So there are a lot of issues with Carvana that don't have answers. And my concern is that if Carvana is allowed in town, and what they say has not been the truth, which already is apparent, we're going to be stuck with a 65 non-permeable surface that we're going to be stuck with dealing with. The market right now for used cars is high, but it's going to crash very quickly based on the fact that we're going to have a change in the car supply manufacturing. So Carvana may not even be a viable business in 3 years, in which case Southwick is going to be holding a huge, giant parking lot.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi.
I agree with what he said, and I looked extensively into their financial background, and I'm a retired accountant. I was in the business world for 14 years, and I was at the school for 17 years. And I know how to read it, financial reports, and we are in the toilet. They are taking all their money out and putting it in their pockets. And I can tell you, I have also looked into the other distribution centers. They're having problems with blowing red lights, going through stop signs, sideswiping cars and not stopping. They have videos on the internet, and they show that the big car carrier sideswiping a whole truck, the whole side was taken out, and they don't stop. This is what we want in here, and what if they have a fire? Do we have a fire department that can handle 8,000 cars burning? Because you know what happens when one goes on fire, what happens? And I don't think they're gonna be around. The used car market dropped in June, 1.3%, and that's the beginning of it. If you read all the financial stuff, they're expecting their stock even to go down to about $2.50 by the end of the year. So we may be in a mess, and there's also in Chesterfield, Virginia, they played fast, and they got their permit, and then the people went bananas, and then they said, well, we're not gonna build it. 2 years later, that was 2019, this past April, they came permit in hand, said, we're building it. But I will mention that they have a new government down there. All the people that okayed it got voted out.
Okay. Anyone else for public comment? We're good? We're good. All right, we'll move on to the rest of the meeting. Thank you, folks.
I have a question.
Forgot about the viewers.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep. There's a, Mr. Chairman, there's a Joanne.
Hi,
Go ahead, Joanne.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. Is there an emergency plan in place for the fire department and the police department should some big disaster happen? I'm really concerned because of the fact that we do have a volunteer fire department, and how are we going to handle a situation like that?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from Zoom for public comment? Raise your hand. There's a gentleman there.
I have a comment, Carol Ann Gothier.
Okay,
I'm opposed to Carvana coming to this town. I've lived here almost my entire life. I'd like to know exactly when anyone in the town hall knew that it was actually Carvana that was interested in building the distribution vehicle center, and why it's been shrouded in several different names.
okay, thank you. Who's that gentleman there?
Mr. Himmel.
Yeah, I as well am very curious what our emergency plan is, as well as the impact on our taxes, funding extensions of water mains and such.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? You see anything, Deb? Sorry.
Hold on. I think we got everybody. If there's
Okay.
anyone else left on Zoom, now's your chance. Okay.
All right. Good. Okay, now we'll continue. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, can you change 62nd Street?
There we go. All right. So first up, acknowledge special payable warrant 2131B dated 6/22/21 in the amount of $1,523. And then acknowledge special warrant 2129 dated 6/29/21 in the amount of $170.22. Acknowledge special payable warrant 2201B dated 7/1/2021 in the amount of $1,867,711.16. Wow. Acknowledge payable warrant 2201 dated 7/6/2021 in the amount of $365,320.80. Okay, it's 6:10. First up is ACO officer for 102 Morgue Mining Road dog hearing for Langen. All right, I need a motion to open the hearing. Do we have a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Russ Fox will make a motion to open the hearing.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Doug Mogul will second the motion, open the hearing.
All right, all those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay, if anyone's going to be able to speak on this matter, we need to swear them in. Yep. We have the oath, the hearing notes.
Sure, call the whole person,
Who's
so
not
already
about
done
the
the fact finding, it's really just a.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. All right. Oh, the
Mr.
minutes.
Clerk, I just got you.
Well, I appreciate you doing your job. Okay, so, you two folks, do you agree to tell the truth, nothing but the truth? So help me God.
And your name to the
And your names and address.
Erica Edelman.
Yep.
81 Morgue Mining Road.
Thank you.
Rebecca Milet, 280 Silver Street, Granville, Mass.
Thank you. All right,
ACO officer.
ACO officer,
ACO officer, Liz Bennett, 11 Depot Street.
thank you. Okay, parties are sworn in. You have the floor, young lady.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Come on.
Awesome. All right, so, we had sent, I had gone to the Langen's house, a while back and had questioned Sean regarding his compliance or non-compliance with the order that you had issued.
Yeah.
Basically, long and short of it, evasive answers. I had to say yes or no. Are you going to put the fence in? Yes or no? And I got, kind of a runaround evasive answers, but the answer was no. Are you going to, have you done any training with your dog? Evasive again, answer finally, no. Have you gotten a quote from anyone? Well, we're talking to people. Well, who have you spoken to? Well, no one. So again, we have this completely evasive thing, and then I find out that the house is for sale, and I happened to contact the real estate agent back then, and I found out it wasn't on the market. And I thought, well, this is kind of odd. How can you sell a house when it's not on the market? So I let it go, and I then got this notification today that we were going to have a meeting tonight about this, or this is the letter that he's saying that he is, we have had Theo on a lead anytime he was outside, continue to do so. Septic system replacement prevented us from installing a fence. Fence was to be installed immediately after the septic replacement. Since decided to move out of state, and the training we agreed to do for Theo will take place once we have him settled into his new environment. Question: what does training a dog have to do with moving? And why can you not train your dog while you're still here? That's my first concern, is that this is another evasive maneuver that, hey, we're not going to listen to what the town has to say. You guys, we're just going to blow smoke, and that's it. I don't see any reason why the dog cannot be set in for training while they're waiting to move. Why is it only going to be effective after they move? That's my first thought. My second thought is that all of these restrictions that have been placed on the dog
should be moved with the dog. Because the next time this dog bites somebody, granted, it may not be in Southwick, it may not be in Massachusetts, but it's gonna happen. And then what are we gonna think about? You know, if it's good enough to do here, why should we not make this plan move with them and say, okay, wherever you go, because in Connecticut, we have these restraining orders against dogs and stuff, you can do this. You say, this is an effect for the life of the dog. And actually in Massachusetts too, if you do a dangerous dog, if you make a dangerous dog determination, whatever you determined to have happen has to go with that dog for the dog's life. I called the realtor again today because I wanted to see again what's going on. It was put on the market 5.5 and taken off the market 5.17. As of today, it is under agreement. However, it doesn't mean that it's going to go through. It can be delayed. It can be put off. It can be canceled. It can be, reevaluated. All these neat little things can happen. So again, my whole thought is, because he's throwing this in the face of the town, and it just doesn't sit well, that he has not paid the $285 fine that was given to him way back when this whole thing first started. Hasn't paid it, has no intention to pay it, hasn't appealed it, nothing. We've got no training still. We've got no fencing still. We have a house that may or may not be selling. So I'm not sure what y'all want to do, but I gotta tell you, I don't have a good feeling. I think it's being thrown at us and it's not appropriate. I contacted Erica and let her know that the meeting was gonna be tonight. Then she decided she didn't want to come and talk to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Regarding alleged violations, there's no one here to talk.
Well, you could read the letter that they submitted into the record.
Okay. Dear Selectmen, since the last hearing regarding Theo, we have kept him on a lead anytime he was outside and continue to do so. The septic system replacement prevented us from installing a fence, which we had agreed to do. The fence has to be installed immediately after the septic replacement. We have since decided to move out of state. That's why we're doing the septic, of course. It doesn't say that. And the training we agreed to for Theo will take place once we have settled him into his new environment. We'll be traveling on 7/12/2021 to we apologize for the short notice. We'll not be able to attend the scheduled hearing regardless. Theo, we plan to be moved out. We plan to be moved out by the end of the month and apologize for the time we have taken from the selectmen. I wish only the best for all involved, and we leave Southwick with a heavy heart. Please let me know if there's anything else you need from us in the interim. Thank you. Signed by no one. Okay, we read that in. Okay, please talk to them. There's statements regarding alleged violations, or well aware of the violations. So, would you really like to say anything?
Yes. Shall I stand?
Wait a second. Close the hearing so you could hear her before.
Oh, no,
we close the hearing.
no.
No,
No, definitely not.
after we close the hearing.
You don't want to close the hearing yet at all.
That's it. Okay. Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Mayor Beth Amulet.
Sure.
Speak first. She was
Yes.
the dog walker who has been attacked multiple times
Yep.
and bitten multiple times.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I know when you're discussing this, maybe you don't realize what it's like to be in a dog attack when you have 4 dogs around you. It was very frightening. I've been a pet sitter now for going on 13 years. I have my own business. Pets are people too. I have several clients in Westfield, Southwick, Granville. I have never had this happen, only with Theo, where he came out and harmed me. The first time it happened, correct me if I'm wrong, was in November, and that's when Trix got bit in the butt.
I have a timeline, and you can.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember what the timeline is.
Bring it on.
Just so you can see what these dogs have done to
So what does Zoom pick up? Is it off of that or is it off?
It's gonna be, they should be able to hear off of that because it'll come through the,
Okay.
just make sure no one gets the mic.
All right.
So I'm just pressing this here. Okay, so I'm Rebecca Mylant. I am the pet sitter for Erica Ellman, and I was the pet sitter that was walking Ruby and Trixie. Following the time, my first dog attack, I guess, was probably the worst one. It was I was walking the dogs on what's Nicholson, and I was coming up the hill, and I was walking down, and I could see the dogs in the yard, and I was told that they had an invisible fence. So I wasn't too concerned, but they saw us and they were barking, and mind you, this is 11/19, so I'm just going by memory. As I got closer, Theo and Marley escaped the yard. Apparently they went through an invisible fence. We thought there was an invisible fence, and immediately we're in attack mode. And I think I wet my pants, to be honest with you, because it was so scary being in the middle of 4 dogs. Ruby's a German Shepherd, you've got Trix, and the other 2 German Shepherds, and I was just trying to basically, I wasn't even concerned with my safety. I guess I should have been. I was more worried about Ruby and Trixie not getting hurt. So that was where my mind was at. I think how it stopped, I believe the owner or somebody called the dogs back into the yard, and they did listen, and they did go back into the yard. And then I called Erica when I got back to her house. I was pretty shooken up, and at that time I did not know that Trixie had been bitten like above the butt, but she had a puncture wound by her. It was either her right or left eye, and if it was any closer, it would have gotten in her eye, and it would have been a major, it would be, she may lose her eye. So it was very close to her eye, and then there was the other injury. And I don't, as far as, so it's been a couple times since the last attack. Well, in October, I had a verbal exchange with the owner because I was walking by, and I got nervous, since I'd been in that situation one time. I was a little leery about walking by when the dogs were outside. So when I was walking by, I was yelling to her, the owner, please keep them away. Please bring them in, because I didn't want them to cross the street and we would have another incident. So, Erica, that was the time that nothing happened, because I'm looking at this and it's happened a few times, so I don't remember, but the one in 2020, yeah, it shows here that I had some bruises on my leg. Trix had to go to the vet. So all I want to say is, after they had agreed to keep them in the yard, there was another time where they were walking, I was walking past their house, and Theo came out of the yard and charged us. And I was yelling and yelling to the owner, please, get your dog in the yard, get your dog in the yard. And when Theo runs over, he immediately starts attacking. It's not like he just comes and sniffs. He's in attack mode. And then the other dogs are going to defend, and then you've got 3 dogs fighting. So I'm a little nervous because it shook me up. After a while, I didn't even want to walk dogs, and that's what I do for a living. So yeah, I was a little shaken up by these incidents, and so I'm just here to tell you about it. I was the person that experienced it, and I thought you should know.
Thank you.
Hello. We all know that the Langens 2 German Shepherds have attacked my dogs. It's clear in the photos that I've submitted. The last account, of course, is the one that I had asked the town and the police for help with because they were not going to keep their dogs from attacking any other dogs. My dogs are not the only ones that have been under attack. My children, Skylar, I dropped my daughter off over there, and Theo as well bit her. And so they have Theo and Marley have attacked many other children, human beings, other dogs. However, we're only here to talk about this scenario. I really need this to come to a conclusion. The last attack was on November of 2020. And if you would like to, when we had the last Zoom meeting, Doug Moglen was going to check with the town attorneys because there was mention of a fine that was going to be recuperated in the sale of their house. And I think that's the last action item at the last town meeting that was going to be. The Langans have never paid for a vet bill. They have never paid I paid a trainer to go to their house to train their 2 German Shepherds in hopes that they wouldn't attack any longer. After they attacked me the last time, I asked if they would start paying the trainer to train their dogs. The trainer went over there. She is a retired canine lieutenant for the state of Connecticut, as was my husband. She went over there and the dog was sick, so she wasn't even gonna touch it. The dogs obviously did not have rabies vaccines at the time when they bit my dogs. They did not have licenses, and they did not, the Langans unfortunately did not keep them tethered to anything or within any sort of fencing once all of this happened. I had gone to Liz Bennett's office many times when I saw the dogs outside. We were informed to take pictures. It doesn't happen that fast. I don't always have my phone in my hand when I'm driving because I don't believe in texting while driving. The kids, you know, they're right across the street from us. I can't see them. They've started harassing me and my children. I've had to put, you know, charges into the police station. Again, that's not what we're here for. But if you would like me to read the policy on dangerous dog attacks, I can do that.
I don't think anyone here is disputing what happened.
Right.
You know.
What I would like to see is accountability. I would like to see them held accountable for what they need to do, and I can tell you the clauses in the Southwick Town Code if you need more information to institute that accountability.
I don't think we need any information to do, that's why we're here tonight, right? Because
Yeah.
we've gone on and on and on, and nothing's been happening, so
Right.
we've asked for another hearing, and here we are.
Yeah, I just want to be able to afford you guys any information that you
No, I
might need.
appreciate it, but I think the purpose of this meeting here is compliance, so, or the lack thereof, right? And to figure out what's going on. And Liz,
Right.
I think,
And I don't think that them selling their house has anything to do with anything. There have been so many attacks on my dogs at this point in time,
Agreed.
whether they're leaving or not,
But-
that's ex post facto. It doesn't have anything to do with anything.
shut up. Well, my point is, I think if there was, this is a two-parter for me. So if there was continued problems with the dog, we would have to have, I believe, another dangerous dog hearing to have another finding to find that dog dangerous. We basically repeat the process that we repeated in the past. The second part of my question, I guess I guess we got to find out the answer to is, I don't know that, and Ms. Bennett is more the expert than certainly myself, is I don't know that we can impose, other than maybe a dangerous dog finding under Mass General Law, but any of the other findings, if we did not find that dog dangerous under Mass General Law, I don't know that we can insert our will on another community or state or whatever, as much as we would not like to have another community impose their will upon the town of Southwick. So I just don't know. We have to do a little research on that. But the purpose of this meeting here is to discuss the alleged violations of the decision and order of this board, right? And then what we're going to do about that. I believe we found that dog to be a nuisance, right? Which was a notch below a dangerous dog, right? And then how do we go from here? And how do we, I don't know that we can take the, and the Langans aren't here, so it's a little bit lopsided, but that's their choice not to be here or request a postponement. But what action do we take from here based on the fact that they say that they're moving, but there's been no compliance? How do we get from here to there? And I think that's where we are, right? So
You have the your lawyer's email.
I do have the lawyer's here, email right here. I was kind of bridging it as best I could, but, and it says, if upon hearing, the board finds the Langans have violated the board's order, the board shall consider and may employ any and all remedies available under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157. I don't have that one in the top of my head, including but not limited to seizure or impoundment of the subject dog. Right now, I think that's where we're at. So I don't think the facts of what happened at the first hearing are in dispute, because we made a finding based on that. Just So that's where I think we are. Yes? No?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
I did want to mention one last thing.
Of
The
course.
Lincolns have rehomed the Theo in the town of Southwick.
Theo is living in Southwick and not at that address that he used to live.
Correct. This just came to my attention today.
Where's Theo?
In Southwick at Colleen Sokovich's house. She is a friend, that's her maiden name or her last married name. I do not know what her new married name is.
Do you know the address?
I do not. I can get it.
Okay.
I'm not a detective.
We'll put our best people on it.
Yes, thank you.
What's her name, Colleen?
Sokovich.
Yeah.
Is it a permanent place that you?
I do not. I am not in communication with the Langans any longer.
It's probably just there during the septic installation, so he doesn't bite
There you
anybody.
go.
So,
Because they might be moving.
well,
I'm sorry.
Understood.
I mean,
Okay. I know. So we're really here because they haven't followed the rules and regs that were put in.
But didn't we already come to that conclusion at the last meeting? Didn't we already say the town ruled that they were to put a fence up?
Yes.
They did not.
correct.
The town ruled that they were to,
Yes.
no,
Training.
to provide training for Theo. They did not.
Correct.
That was already found at the last
Right.
meeting. Isn't this meeting to kind of close this all thing together and put some accountability on the Langans?
I believe
Correct.
procedurally, that's why,
Thank you.
That's why we're here.
we're here. And that's why we had another hearing procedurally. So now
Thank
we'll
you.
move forward, whether it be fines or
Yeah.
what have you.
I don't need to know.
No, I don't think we know yet.
Well, it is, so there's your option he gave you. Seizure and a fine. You can instruct
What's the
town
boarding rate
attorney
at the
and
kennel?
chief of police.
$15 a day.
And can we package that so if the house does sell,
That's the MCL.
is that the lien,
Oh, yeah.
right? It won't, if it doesn't get paid, the house doesn't sell.
You can't transact a house without getting
Or-
an MO.
The town gets in line
certificate from
before
the
other
clerk's
creditors
office.
is what
Thank you.
happens.
Right.
So, and that was the question you had asked. We did check into it.
We have to confirm.
We have to
that this
confirm
can-
it, but it was a logical thing that can be done
possible
for certain
now.
things. If you owe fees to the town, you get in line basically with other creditors, right?
I want them to have accountability because if they continue to have these dogs, it's gonna happen again.
I get it.
And then I don't want my town, where this issue has already been brought out,
Mm.
I don't want anything to fall back on this town.
Understood. Thank you.
And I just want to know that I like to be safe and I don't want to hit.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Fox.
Yeah, I think we all agree. We made our determination, we declared Theo a nuisance dog. And like Mr. Morgan said, the purpose of tonight is just non-compliance. Now, we've already contacted the town attorney. He's given us some different options. Now we have to take and go forward with those options, and look at, and the only thing we can base it on is what you told us here tonight. And we have to look into that to make sure where Theo actually is.
Yeah.
And then we actually have to make sure that the lawyer that, or the letter that the Langdon submitted that they're moving in 2 weeks is actually correct.
Doesn't say that.
I thought it was the end of August.
I thought it said the end of the month.
There's no date on it.
Oh,
By the end of the month.
By the end of the month.
We plan to be moved out by the end of the month.
There's no set date happening.
Right.
Yeah, understood.
We understand that, and, this board's gonna have to make a determination. Obviously, we're going to have to work with town council to do everything legally. And it's not gonna happen overnight,
No,
but I think we're headed in the right direction.
I agree.
And I think that you understand that this board takes this very seriously.
Yeah.
We have acted very seriously in previous cases, and we don't want this to happen. And we don't want people to be afraid to walk on the streets of the town of Southwick.
And it is disappointing. There was 40-something people on Zoom tooting how wonderful the world was and that we were a bunch of fools, and we're still a bunch of fools because here we sit and nothing's been done. So no, we do apologize for that.
Oh, no, no, no.
No, no, it's not our fault, but it is our fault.
I am genuinely worried because this
Yeah.
dog is going to attack again.
Yeah, I understand that, and it sucks.
These
I can,
dogs.
you know, if they met us halfway and did the training, right, I could swallow that pill and say, okay, they weren't moving when we had the hearing, they weren't moving until they decided to move, which was nothing to do with the fence this April.
It's just about
Right.
accountability.
But if they had just done the training, I think we would have to take a deep breath and say, okay, they're moving. But no training, they didn't know in April they were moving.
And what is moving, again, what does moving have to do
They
with
were
selling
training of
the
the
house?
dog, right?
Or
right.
with training the dog, right?
Yeah, understood. Okay, so now can I make a motion to close the hearing?
No, I
No.
think you want to
Wanna
hold
leave
it
it
open
open?
until we figure out what we're doing with this dog.
So we'll
We
continue.
continue it, I would.
Continue it.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing.
Okay.
I'll second the motion to continue the hearing.
Uh,
To a date certain, Carl?
Yeah, you can do it the next
To our
meeting.
next meeting.
For our next meeting, all right. So Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay, see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thanks for understanding.
Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna back up a little bit here, and we're gonna do the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, Russ Fox will make a motion to approve the minutes of 6/28/21.
Second.
Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Aye.
Doug Mogul, aye. Okay. So now we can go to 6:20, Fire Chief and Deputy Chief update and interviews. We are past 6:20. Great. Sir, how are you today?
Good, yourself?
Wonderful.
Planning board.
So,
I believe this packet is that?
No.
No. Okay.
It's in your folder.
It's,
All right,
This was on top, Chuck.
thank you. We'll get there.
so as you're aware.
Yes, sir.
We have the, 2 open career positions for the career side of the department.
Yes, we do.
We began canvassing a few months back. We had a total of 16 applicants. From there, we dwindled that down through resume reviews to 8 that we interviewed. We had 3 to bring forward today. However, 1 took a position with another department just this week. So we'll have 2 in front of you for tonight. As you know, we've solicited all over the place through multimedia, you name it. We even sent postcards to every medic listed in our neighboring towns, trying to get per diem or whatever.
Did you get any call back from any of the fire chiefs over that? No?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, competitions, you gotta go for where you gotta go. And as you know, with the contract negotiations, we've made some inroads to be competitive.
Yes.
We got 2 great candidates. They both come to us with medic experience, already operating as medic basic, not double medic, but single medic. And neither one of them have fire. They need to go to the fire academy, which they both understand. So they went through our interview process with our peers, our medical consultant as well. To dwindle this down, they then took part in our typical testing, which includes human resource testing, mechanical, mathematics, and reading comprehension test, and both came out very well on that. So while we only have the 2 candidates, we feel they're both very strong candidates and show a lot of promise.
and you have 2 openings, right, Chief? Because you had one a provisional in one of the other slots.
No, that was Shane. He's well left to went back
Okay.
to construction. So
Okay,
the 2 positions are open at this time.
okay.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge, and then
Oh, you train them well, and then they go
to
you're like a
begin the
farm
academy
team.
in 2 weeks. So it's going to be another challenge. So
Start the interviews.
without further ado, I'd like to have the deputy bring in Morgan to the first time. Sure. Unless you got other questions.
We didn't tip off the 2 applicants that we got 2 spots, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know how that goes,
Three
you don't always
apiece.
fill.
3 apiece.
Okay.
Okay.
Two. I only need 2.
This is 3, right?
I only got 1 extra.
So you only have 2.
You also have 3.
Who kept 3?
I have 3.
Give me 1.
I didn't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
We
so I
did,
can
but if
throw
it
one
was,
away.
yeah.
You got it.
Mark, or something, have a seat there.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. It's an early night though. So we're gonna ask you a few questions. I don't know if we're making a decision tonight. But this young man, I'm sure will let you know either way.
Okay.
And, are you ready?
I am ready.
You ready, sir?
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll go with Mr. Fox first.
All right, Morgan, why do you want to work in Southwick as a firefighter EMT?
So I've heard a lot of good things about this department from people all over this part of the state. It seems like a very premier service to work for. And I want a department that's going to help me be the best that I can be. And I know that this is a place that will help me do that. But I also want to bring, what I lack in experience and make up for enthusiasm. So I want some place that's going to nurture that. And again, what everybody has told me about Southwick Fire has been very, very positive.
Okay.
Follow up.
Sure.
How much time have you spent at the department so far?
I have been. Do you mean just like in the?
Touring around, checking it out, everything else?
I've just been through the interview process. I haven't been able to work here or anything, if that's what you mean.
No problem.
And the elevator was
We're a
working?
friendly bunch.
No, I
Remain
gotcha.
calm.
It's just, I haven't been able to work in this area. Like I live nearby, so I've been through the town as I was growing up, but I haven't actually worked here before.
Great.
You're based in West Springfield?
Yes.
Yeah. And the elevator was probably working that day, so she just went right up. She didn't have to take the stairs, so she saw less. Okay, in your view, how does the chain of command differ in emergency and non-emergency situations? Chain of command.
Right.
Is there a difference when there's an emergency or not an emergency?
Within a fire department or?
Yeah, I guess that's why we're here, right? In your view, how does the chain of command differ in emergency and non-emergency situations? So chain of command
Right.
at the fire department today, when you walk in tomorrow morning for coffee, is it any different when the tones go out and you're at an accident?
Okay.
Is the chain of command any different, or is it? I don't even know the answer.
Okay.
So
In my opinion, when you're in an emergency situation, it's, rank doesn't matter as much as experience does. So for example, I'm a paramedic.
Right.
Like even if the EMT's been on the department for 14 years, it's my card on the line. So in that situation, the most experienced or the highest level of provider usually would be in charge of that. In a non-emergency situation, obviously I defer to the people that have been at the department longer. That's, just how I've always worked it. On a fire scene, obviously, most experienced person, the person that's supposed to be in charge is in charge.
Right.
So
and you'll learn that if you go to the fire warning
Exactly.
and all that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't know. Here, they just, the biggest guy gets thrown in front of the bus, so doesn't matter than anything else. So who can get the bus first? All right, thank you.
You got me. I'm used to getting hit by a bus of late.
Nah,
How do you handle an assignment given to you from a superior who you do not agree with?
Well, in my opinion, you don't have to agree with somebody to do the job that you're assigned. You do what you're assigned to do. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but it's your job. There's plenty of situations in EMS where you run into a situation where you are not thrilled. Like sometimes you find people in really weird areas or in really weird situations, but it's the job. You signed up to do it. So I've never had a problem with a superior where I couldn't, do what I was told to do. If there needs to be a conversation afterwards, it happens afterwards.
All right, Morgan, what was your greatest failure and what did you learn from that experience? And it doesn't have to be fire either.
So, so many options to choose from, but so I think, I'm a relatively new paramedic, so this past year I've had a couple of incidents, not, serious incidents, but one particular incident, I actually, so I overworked a call. I went a little bit too aggressive on a call when I shouldn't have. And nothing, bad happened to the patient. It was just I had the opportunity to be a little bit less aggressive. And I chose not to, more out of fear of the consequences rather than actually making a clinical decision. So what I did after that is, one, I tried to, now when I go on calls, especially as a new medic, I take a deep breath before I walk in the room. So that's one thing, but I did a lot of research into that particular call. And so I made sure that I was an expert on that call. I could tell you, the exact protocol for the state. I could tell you all the clinical reasons why that protocol exists. And I made sure that the next time that it happened, which it did, I knew exactly what to do. There was no question in my mind what to do. So that's how I try to learn from my mistakes.
Good answer.
That's a tricky question too.
Uh,
People that stare at us for 20 minutes. Just
It's absolutely, that is one of the toughest questions.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, especially with, being a new paramedic, it's so important to learn from mistakes.
We ask that for every job interview.
Yeah.
So
Any
You
job
noticed
interview,
there
it's
was,
important to
you
learn
didn't
first.
see behind you, but the
They're all
lieutenant,
smirking,
the
yeah.
sergeant,
Yeah.
and the entire fire department behind you all smirk because they've been asked the same exact question.
And given a different answer.
Yes.
Everyone gives a different answer. Okay, are you aware this is a small department that will be growing over the next years to come? Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 7 years?
That's a really good question. I'm actually excited by the idea of, growing with the department. So right now I'm still new. The department's still small. There's lots of areas that I need to grow before I could, even consider taking a leadership role. But I hope that, probably closer to 7 years from now, that I would be able to help the department become better and grow. I personally really like teaching. It's something that I really want to do. Again, I'm not experienced enough to do it now, but being able to help in that regard and learn new things that I can bring back to the department to make it a premier service in this area actually really excites me.
And just to follow up, looking at your resume here, Chicopee, Beckett, and Adams, correct?
Yes.
So Chicopee, Beckett's got to be quiet.
Beckett is quiet.
Yeah. Adams,
Adams,
Savoy, and Cheshire
Adams, it can be busy.
can be.
I think we do about 3,000 medical calls a year. And they range from, actually, Adams tends to be a little bit more, a lot of the calls are very legitimate calls. They're very, very, high acuity calls. So I think I learned a lot from that particular area. And Beckett, Beckett can be really quiet, but when people call 911 in Beckett, they really need 911.
Right. Chief, how many calls do we have last year?
We have about 1,000.
1,000.
The other thing with Beckett too is the transport's a lot longer.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
So do you see yourself, where do you see yourself when those 3 towns are very different? And when we, some of our older police officers would piss, moan, and bitch sometimes. And we would say, Springfield's only 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
If you really want the action or if you feel you're being treated poorly in Southwick. So I laugh and look at, your realm is pretty different. So
Yeah.
do you like it fast paced? Are you more of a, where do you see that world?
Depends on the week.
Depends on the week.
So I like them for different reasons. So Beckett I like because when I go there, they give me the whole book to throw at a call.
Right.
So there's nothing that our medical director, for the most part, doesn't give us to work with.
Gotcha.
And 40-minute transport times, I get to go through the whole book. Like if there's a problem, I'm fixing it. I'm gonna get to the last part of the protocol, and then I'm gonna have to figure it out. So I really like Beckett for that. But I also like Adams too because the transport times are a little bit shorter, but the calls, there's a couple more calls. So
Right.
I think everything balances out in the end.
Yep.
I don't, as much as I like Springfield, that's a burnout.
No,
spot.
yeah, it is. Absolutely is. Absolutely is.
But I think, honestly, 1,000 calls between one ambulance is pretty reasonable.
Yep.
A little bit more than Beckett, a little bit less than Adams.
Yep.
And the transport time isn't, 5 seconds, but it's also not 40 minutes. So I think it's a nice
blend.
Nice blend, yeah.
All right, thank you. Those are all the questions we have for you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I wasn't aware. I didn't think I was going to be able to ask any questions, but
Yeah.
I don't have any questions for you right now. I'm sorry.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you.
And you'll be hearing from us shortly, I'm sure.
All right, thank you.
One way or the other. How's that?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Well done.
Sure. Is he next one? I don't know which one's next.
Oh, I only have to,
No, we have, we should have three.
oh, yeah.
No, the other one is call for.
No, but there was three that were supposed to come tonight and one back
We
out.
only have two apps on front of us, right?
Yeah, we only have two.
Brandon?
Yeah,
Brandon
Brandon,
Morgan.
yeah, but how do you pronounce his last?
You think it's Brandon?
Anthony,
Find out.
we can ask him.
Is Brandon?
Brandon, there we go. How do we say your last name?
It's Pat Twin,
Pat Quinn.
very French.
Pat Quinn. All right, wonderful. How are you this evening?
Good, a little nervous.
Don't be. We're more nervous than you are.
Mm.
Because we gotta actually pretend we know what you're talking about. All right, so we're gonna ask you a few questions tonight.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, when we're done, if you'd like to ask us a few questions, you can. I'm not sure if we'll make a decision tonight, but if we do either way, the chief will reach out to you.
Sounds good.
All right, Mr. Fox?
Brandon, why do you want to work in Southwick as a firefighter EMT?
Well, I've grown up in the area. I lived in Southwick till I was 7, then I lived in Agawam until I was like 14, and then I graduated from Westfield. It's just kind of like my home area. I really like Southwick as a town. It's a small town, smaller town. But it's got, I just always liked it here. It's got the lakes, it's got a great population, agriculture, all of that. It's a great small town.
What did you go to Westfield Voc for?
Actually, computer networking. I didn't figure out that I wanted to be in medicine for 10 years.
That's fine.
But we still need people to work.
No,
on
yeah,
the
so
computers,
don't worry,
so-
yeah. You just-
Believe me, I'm really considering a career in medicine starting
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
The rest of this isn't working out.
No, and you probably set yourself up when you said computer, so that's your own fault. All right, next question. In your view, how does the chain of command differ in emergency and non-emergency situations? So how is chain of command at the fire department when you go in the morning and have your coffee and do your workout versus an ambulance or fire call and on the scene?
So chain of command, I mean, pretty much it's the same as it always, it's the same at fire, whether you're emergent or non-emergent. Like if the chief is there and he wants to take command of the call, if it's an emergency, then he's in charge. But if you're on scene with a paramedic and an EMT, technically the paramedic is in charge. So wherever you fall in that rank, even if you are on scene with like a captain and you're just a paramedic, but the captain's an EMT, you need to lead that EMS call because you have the higher degree in that, but with all due respect for, your captain.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it happens. All right, thank you.
How do you handle an assignment given to you from a superior who you do not agree with?
Like any other assignment, even if you don't agree with the superior, maybe talk with them. If the assignment itself is something you don't agree with, maybe talk with them to try to see through. Maybe you don't. It's not that you don't disagree with what it is, but maybe you disagree with them on something else. So if you know it's a good course of action, then probably just go do it, even if you and that superior are disagreeing. But if you're disagreeing on that particular thing, why are you disagreeing? Maybe he needs a second set of eyes, but with respect to the situation. But you do the task from a superior.
Great, thank you.
All right, Brandon, here comes the tough one. You ready?
Yeah.
What was your greatest failure, and what did you learn from that experience? It doesn't have to be fire or paramedic.
My greatest failure, probably not finishing college. I found that I'm more of a vocational learner from that. I went to college, gained up some student loan debt that's still being worked on. But I found out that I don't learn as well academia-wise. I'm much more of a vocational, hands-on learner, and that was what I learned from that, and that's how I ended up here in paramedicine. It's all hands-on.
Good.
Are you aware this is a small department that will be growing over the years to come, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 7 years?
3 to 7 years. All right, so my personal life, I hope to marry my girlfriend, buy a house, and get more dogs, maybe have a kid. As far as my professional career, I'd like to be a career firefighter paramedic in 5 to 7 years having the training to move up in the ranks at the fire department. And then pursue and expand my paramedic and firefighting knowledge to its greatest ability.
As long as it doesn't involve college.
Yeah, no, well, I'm gonna have to do it, and
True. But I think once it's
I'll
something you
suffer
like.
through a 2-year associate's degree and figure it out.
Understood. And I see you're coming from Springfield, so very fast paced over there?
Yep. I've been at AMR Springfield for 5 years now, just under 5 years. And I think I personally have responded to between 7,500 and 10,000 EMS calls.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's a great place to learn. All right, well, that's all the questions we have tonight. Anything for us?
Not really. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Have a good night, and someone will be reaching out to you shortly, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
You want fire part 2, the deputy's gonna handle, for the awards and the rest of the stuff, so.
Okay.
You wanna talk first, you wanna wait, or how do you wanna do that?
This your meeting or my meeting?
He's the chairman.
Can you at least let them leave the building before we have it? They're gone, right? I think that we're fine. What's your thoughts?
I thought we saw 2 great candidates here tonight. Thank you, Chief, for you and your staff for whittling it down to 2 very good candidates. So unless somebody else wants to talk, I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of those 2.
The offers. I just had one quick question for the chief.
Sure.
What do you think of they both answered question 2 almost identically. If you really look at it, in your view, how does chain of command differ in emergency and non-emergency situations? And I looked over and I never want to play poker with you either, because I didn't get a read on you from the first candidate's answer, and then the second candidate's answer was very similar. Just curious if you had any opinion on that. I guess it basically said the paramedic card trumps command at a scene like that, and
Keep in mind, both have the perspective from a paramedic.
this is why I'm asking you.
And in relation, their only world has been in relation to a patient, which their answers are completely right. If they're a paramedic and I'm on the scene running an accident scene and they say X, Y, Z for that patient for medical care, they're 100% in charge of that person at a higher level of care. However, if the scene becomes dangerous and I gotta tell them to get out, then that would come into play. But they would learn more of that when they go to the academy.
That's why I mentioned.
Your answer is right, but it's in position where it is.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Foxton, please.
Then I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve with all the yada, yada,
An offer of
yada.
employment, physical. I've taught them anything. I will gladly second Mr. Fox's motion.
Alrighty. Joe Didi, aye.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Moglen, aye.
Thank you.
There's your answer. Good luck. No way we can keep them though, huh? There's no, in general, I mean, we always have this discussion, how do we keep these guys for 2 or 3 years?
That's the guys in the back row.
Yeah, but that row's getting smaller, you know? I mean, hopefully the new contract helps.
It's on them to make sure the new guys stay.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot's changed, there's a culture that's developing.
Yeah.
Shifts will change, so there's a lot of moving parts.
That's right, there's a lot of moving parts now, yeah. Wonderful, thank you. Yeah. All right.
I'll let you take over then.
All right. 6:20. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah. 6:45. Historic awards and academy completion.
So yes, good afternoon. We have a couple of recognitions for our EMTs and firefighters. And we'll start with probably the biggest accomplishment would be Dave Dubchek and Dave Avalon have both completed Firefighter 1 at the Connecticut Fire Academy, and again, through COVID, which was not an easy task. A little bit of unsettledness with education, different types of learning methods, and practical sessions that were a lot different than they're used to. So as always, we'd like to present them with the yellow helmet. The yellow helmet signifies that at this time, both of them are cleared to be interior firefighters with no restrictions. So Dave, if you could. There you go. Congratulations. Nicely done. Dave, thank you. Thank you. There you go. Congratulations. Nicely done.
Those are only loners.
Yeah.
This way, there you go. All right, great. Thank you.
Scratch and tent.
That's right.
As this happened every year, fortunately for Southwick, we've been successful in resuscitating a patient who was in cardiac arrest. And each year we submit a application to the Office of OEMS Regional Local Office, and they review the case to see if it rises to the level of recognition for a SAVE award. And this year it did. So it was a combined effort with police, with dispatch, and with our firefighter EMTs that we were able to bring back a patient that was in cardiac arrest. An older patient, who's doing quite well right now, and was very grateful for everybody involved. As it was, we also had one on New Year's Day, which we'll be here for again next year. But this time I'd like to recognize 4 people that were very instrumental in that. First of all, I have alphabetical order, Anthony Angata. The 4 of you want to just come on right at the beat here. And don't worry, I won't complete your name. Carries. Mike Brawl, thank you. I can see back to New Hampshire today to be here tonight. We appreciate that as well too. That's right. And then Joseph. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Again, it's a group effort. It's never one person. It's always at least everybody working together. And hopefully we have better outcomes for all of our patients. So this one we couldn't do because of the training, the dedication, and again, the enthusiasm of all. So thank you very much and congratulations. Yeah, sure.
Her again.
Perfect, thank you. All right. And then we have what is very unique, although it happens every single day in America, thousands of times, but not always in the back of the ambulance, that we have crew members that are called upon day or night, and in this case, in the middle of the night, to help a woman who had an impending delivery. And they ended up delivering the baby very quickly, but of course, the hub of Southwick at Chevelle's, where the call initiated, there was never enough diesel in the ambulance to get to the hospital fast enough, but I'd like to have Dave Dubchek and again Steve Backer come on up. We presented them a stork pin, which recognizes them for delivering a baby. Hopefully they can wear it on their uniforms at all times. One of the other persons that was involved is Jessica Bishop, who is Chief Bishop's daughter. She couldn't be here because she's committed to her other full-time job in South Hadley. But again, they did a great job together, and I'm sure David and Steve would attest that Jessica was a very calming spirit in the back of the ambulance and helped the rest of them do their job because it was their first, but not her first. So congratulations. As well too. Thank you all very much for the time. I do appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Yep.
Take it back, we did do the minutes, I apologize. I wrote down we needed to do the minutes and then I remember we.
Doug did it.
I'm just a clerk.
All right, so next up is call for us for EMT Nicholas Chambers. appointing.
Yep, that came as a recommendation.
Yeah. Do we need the chief for that?
No.
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 Well,
Good thing, 'cause he left.
Hey, good, because he left, yeah. All right.
Russ Fox will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Doug Mogul will second the motion.
Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
I actually know that young man somewhat. So that's good. He's from Southwark, so it'll be nice to see that work out.
That Steve's son.
Yeah.
Who's over there on John Mason.
See how it goes. All right. Accept resignation for Concom Coordinator and Channel 15 Dennis Clark. Do I need a motion for that?
Russ Fox will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Doug Mogul will second the motion.
All those in favor? Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
All right, approved.
Just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, I am working with the Conservation Chairman and Vice Chairman on the job description updates.
Okay.
So I have worked those out with Labor Council,
All right, and I think that,
and that's what you have there.
yeah, and that's gonna probably need more of a discussion, I think, as far as what we may or may want to do in town with some other positions that may be part-time.
Yep. Just letting you know, we have a.
Yeah, so once that's done, then we'll go to that next phase of whether it's a work session or
Whatever you.
however we want to
Yep.
do that. I think there's a few.
Business for
Hmm?
I'm just taking-
In Channel 15, I have applications and we're doing a posting.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, approved tie and bond service contract for the old SFA building, 15 Depot Street, rear for conditions of hazardous building material assessment. So I'll just do a little background so my phone doesn't ring off the hook tomorrow. This is the old fire department association building that whether we tear it down or whether we give it to a different nonprofit moving forward, we still need to do this process. It's for the lead and, you know, blah, 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 that kind of stuff, just so they have a history book to go with it, so they can get that work done. The town is not doing any of the work, they're just doing the assessment, correct?
Right, it's required.
It is required.
You have to do this building.
So I need a motion.
All right, Russ Fox will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Doug Mogul will second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
All right, motion to approve union UPSEU agreements for DPW, clerical, dispatch, and library units.
Russ Fox will make that motion.
Doug Mogul will second the motion.
All right, all those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Thank you. Okay. Approve update job descriptions for COA, clerk, kitchen, and activity benefits coordinator.
I believe everybody's read it, so.
Yep.
So Russ Fox will make that motion. That's been approved by Labor Council, correct, Carl?
The job descriptions?
Job, right.
Yes, yep. Last week you approved the Council on Aging Director's updated one. And this is all of the other staff that are there now. And what it's doing is it's taking the, one of the aides and the shine person is becoming an activity and benefits slot. So that has to be also adopted as part of this package. And that's going to be advertised because we have people that are moving back into the cruise business or in other jobs and they have vacancies.
Okay, so Russ Fox will make that motion.
Doug Mogul will second the motion.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Motion to approve MRF contract for bulk rigid plastics.
Right, that's the MRF. So this was recommended by Randy and it's, he was here before. Yeah, he had to go on, Randy has a 7 o'clock meeting somewhere else. But this is just to, it's another source location where these things have to be done, and we actually make some money off of this, as the letter reads.
Yeah.
All right, Russ Fox will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Doug Mogul will second.
All those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay. Approved contract amendment number 2 between Southwick and Fuss O'Neill for Bungalow Street Design Extension.
Yep, this is under a community development block grant.
Yep.
So, and it's just a time extension through the end of July.
All right, Russ Fox will make that motion.
Doug Mogul will second.
All right, all those in favor, Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
Okay. That's all I see. So now we're gonna go to new business. DPW roads projects identification and selection of locations.
Right, I believe the board is going to give some dates to Robin so that we can go out with Randy and Chris in the field and go over Randy's lists, just
Okay.
like we did last year.
So we better.
And I
pick the
believe
right
the
road
board
the first time,
prefers.
We're not gonna get far.
I believe you guys prefer early morning site visits because of your work schedule commitments.
For some of us, I don't know about others.
What's your
Are you looking, Doug?
7:30?
Doesn't matter.
6 a.m.?
Start without me if I'm not there. My
Right.
work comes first, so.
Oh, understood. You don't have to drive anyone anymore though, huh?
No.
That's nice.
Yes.
That's a huge load off. Okay, we'll put some dates and times and see what works.
Yep, I'm going to reach out to you.
All right, discuss and select.
You already did that.
Career, I'm still gonna read it. Discuss and select SFD career firefighter EMT for employment offer. We've already done it. All right. Old business. The select board requesting a joint meeting with DOT regarding the construction of the bridge in Westfield that Mr. Fox will be attending. We get anywhere with that? We had got dates, didn't we?
Yeah, Russ has already lined up a date.
Perfect. Name change, Southwick Hill Road to Iron Horse Hill. Still working on that.
Town council is supposed to be submitting some stuff to the police command staff to go over on that.
So, okay, so this is gonna be the first thing that our retired police chief didn't get done. So everyone put a one little circle around it. Green energy program and town fuel efficient vehicle policy. How's that coming?
It has not come back to us in final form yet by the regional planning agency.
Alrighty. Historic commission vacancy, has that been filled?
I have 2 people that have sent emails to me, and I'll have to forward them to town. One is Kirk Sanders, Crescent Circle, the other is Mark Rankin of Sheepcastle Road. 2 people that lived in town for quite a while, and 2 that have a great interest in the history of the town.
Nice. Medical building vacancy.
I have not heard anything back, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna reach out again and see. I think what's happening is, it's summer vacation time, and, we don't seem to be having, good luck communicating, so.
Understood. And the school committee has a vacancy. I see July 26th here.
That's the joint meeting?
Yes. They have a deadline for candidates, and they're going to be bringing forward those candidates so that the members of the remaining members of Southwick who are in the school district and the 3 select persons will jointly interview and select a person.
And that'll be at our next meeting?
That's what it's looking like.
Will that be the first on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe we have any other hearings that night.
Okay.
And of course, how long it will be will depend upon how many candidates are received by the school that they forward to us.
Gotcha. Appointments for town boards and committees. You wanna play with that tonight at all? You wanna wait?
I think if we could hold off to the next meeting, you know, we've kind of backtracked, and we did put it out in the press. I think has helped us a little bit, putting it out.
For more names.
Right.
All right, select board goals and objectives.
Yeah, you have a draft and you just need to look at what edits you might want to add to it.
Wonderful. And August 6th, Southwick Night at Starfire's game at Bullens Field. What time's that start? 6 o'clock maybe?
Probably.
6 p.m.
I think I read somewhere they're going to have fireworks too.
Yeah, after
Oh,
the
fireworks too?
yeah.
Nice. Oh, we can see them there instead of something, that's good. All right, that's all I see for old business. Only thing I have that it's not here, and Doug, I don't know if we got anywhere with it. What is our thoughts with, are we gonna stay hybrid?
I think,
And do we have all departments do it? I know Board of Health is meeting, and I had met with our Board of Health agent this morning, she goes, no, it's all in person, and
I
la-di-da-da.
think that's been more of an individual choice by the.
But is
board.
it?
but that's what I was gonna bring it up under.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, no, it's a great question. I know Carl and staff have been working to try to better equip this room, select board conference room and land use room to be able to support the hybrid model. And it seems that now that things have kind of stabilized from a governor's order and state law perspective, at least through April of next year, where hybrid is at least permitted, I think as a select board, we should, just as though we mandated that boards have to record their meetings and submit the audio recordings to town clerk, I think we should try to provide, if we can, some level of consistency to other boards and commissions for the public, because I think it actually can get confusing. This board's in public, this one's hybrid, this one's Zoom only, and so you don't even know where to go or what to do. And it's clear on the website when you go and it says Zoom only or whatever, but if you have I think maybe this board should discuss, maybe once we get the capability improved, obviously from where we are is not ideal, but we're making progress, to support hybrid, that should be a way to go through, at least through the end of the expiration of that order. But I leave it to the board. I think the hybrid's the way to go. You do have some people that, are still either unvaccinated or who do not want to be in a very public setting with a board. Some of the boards do meet in a smaller area, so we can support, to be able to support the hybrid. I know in the planning board meeting, we would have run into open meeting law issues because we would have basically exceeded the capacity of the room. If you added capacity here plus the Zoom, we would have been way over this room, which I think is an absurd 288, I think was the number.
Well, those are all being double checked.
Yes, I mean, if this room is supposed to be rated for 288, we were in 240, 50, and it was with the fire marshal here, plus 150 on Zoom.
Right.
So no matter what the number was, we'd have been over. But so I think having the hybrid option is great. It still provides the recordings. It provides people the ability to participate and partake in government in action. And you don't have to leave the comfort of your home if you're taking it in as a member of the public. That's my opinion. But, and other boards, and I'm surprised, different boards have taken different approaches. We've had boards that are still meeting Zoom only. And then we have other board meetings that have pivoted completely to in-person.
Right.
So you've seen all sides of it, and we've tried to do hybrid. So
I'm fine with the hybrid.
I think it works, and I got some feedback earlier. They couldn't hear when we passed the microphones, and they said that they could hear better. And I think it's a way to go for now. And then we can readdress it next April. The expense is not huge to support the hybrid model, so that would be my take on it. Well,
I'm still open to it, like you said, there's still people that aren't comfortable. So as long as that exists, and now we're dealing with variants, and some people are nervous about that. So we can legally do it till next April, so we continue to work on that. And like you said, we seem to be improving, but if we find out that people don't like it, we can always switch.
How many are on right now?
it was bigger before, but there are 16 remote, including us, right? So net us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
So there's someone on, that's all.
One of the things on the hybrid approach, you gotta make sure, right now, we have that screen. In some of the other rooms, there are no screens.
Right.
So that's what we're dealing with our outside vendors, and we're getting quotes and estimates to be able to do that broadcast capability. So you may find that you only have 2 or 3 rooms that will eventually be able to be
Yes.
outfitted, so those boards or committees would have to take advantage of booking space in those rooms that have that capability, and they would have to have the people trained to come in and administer those meetings for them. So that there is that issue. So that all still has to be fleshed out, and like a lot of communities, we're working that through right now.
Yep, but this is working for us.
And I think as a goal, to Carl's point, the goal is, I don't know that we want to get to the point where we got to have an AV person to broadcast Board of Selectmen meeting or Board of Health meeting or any meeting. Basically, you come into a room, you push a button, it starts the Zoom, the TV turns on, the cameras turn on, and when the meeting's over, you push the button, it stops, and that's the end. I don't know that we're going to get there immediately, but that's
Right.
that they've been talking
And
about.
that's Peter, we're working with
Yeah,
the
with
person. who does it.
Peter Cowles and those guys to try to,
Yeah.
they've got
Oh,
experience.
yeah,
with
Joe and
that.
I have been on his radio show quite a few times.
A producer.
Yep.
Good guy. And he knows his stuff. That's the bottom line.
Right, so he's been
They
giving
do it every
advice on
day, so.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else under old business?
I have new business.
Do you have new business?
Um,
Let's do old business first. Like this.
Well, I was just gonna comment about Motocross National. I think that was obviously put together very quickly, facing all the challenges, but I think our fire department and police department did an outstanding job. I know that, being on the board of directors of Southwick Rec Center, we were certainly thankful that it came back, because the revenue that we get from parking the cars helps to run a lot of programs for kids. And I'm sure there's also benefit for, I saw Wally Park did a great job where they used that revenue to fund different programs in the Park and Rec Department. So it was just a good thing all around. I haven't heard of any major issues. I don't know if Lieutenant Banish knew of any major issues. Nothing major. So, but I thought it was great for the town of Southwick, and it went off very smoothly.
Yeah, I don't know. It went together quick, and he's right. It does go. There's a lot of people quickly, and it's for 7 hours, 8 hours of hell, and they're gone. And overall, I think it was a real smooth experience.
And I would add that the crowd that came into Southwick this year were probably the nicest and friendliest people I had ever seen at a Motocross National. I mean, people were joking, they were happy to be out, they were friendly. Everybody was saying thank you. I mean, it was just, it was a great crowd.
And even your trash pickup did not look that bad.
No, people were respectful of the property. And so I thought it was just a great event. Maybe people were just so sick and tired
I
of
think you're
being
right. I
locked
think
up
there's a part of that too.
that they wanted to come out, and they came out in droves. But people, I think, had a great experience coming to the town of Southwick.
I mean, hats off to the event organizers, Southwick Police, Southwick Fire, and the other contractors who, they had a good playbook coming in, but we didn't do it last year, so the guys weren't at all rusty. It really was well done, well organized, and
3 a.m. they were pulling bulldozers.
considering the amount of rain we got on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And
that show was
they
gonna
got that
happen.
place put together well, but it's certainly
it's a gem.
It's a great day for the town when that comes off well, and the men and women of the police and fire departments and Rick and all those guys that put that event on, they did a great job.
New business, Mr. Steinhardt.
I just want to let you know that I met with Lee Hamburg, the chairperson of the Historical Commission.
Yeah.
Last week or two, and we are developing a scope sheet for the police department slate roof and cupola assessment that was granted under $5,000 funds from town meeting through the CPC funds. So that's going to be something that he and I are working on. And then also the RFP for the town hall roof replacement and HVAC repairs has gone out and been released. So there's an invitation for a walkthrough with different designers to come in this week and evaluate that project so that we can get that underway sometime late summer into fall, and that you'll be able to have some good information going into your budget process.
So how do we handle the old roof, the new roof, the CPC funds that may or may not be available? I know it didn't work out for the design work.
Mhm.
So moving forward, and I don't want to wait till the last week before we have budgets or who do we really reach out to get a real clear answer whether those funds are or are not available for the old part of the roof?
You mean for the police department roof?
No, I mean for this roof.
Oh, town council's already written an opinion letter. He's in bond council, because this would be bonded,
Yes,
because you wouldn't do a large undertaking in
yes,
paper. cash.
understood.
Yeah, bond council has already ruled that it's an eligible use of the funds.
Okay,
And because it's gonna be a bond issue, he is the ultimate authority on issuing them. Because the Mass DOR, when they get an inquiry like that, they will refer the people back to town council or bond council. They as a general, they generally don't issue opinions from an agency anymore. They leave it to your attorneys. And those rulings have already been made.
so there's nothing, so we're good.
It's eligible.
It's eligible. Okay,
Whether they put it through to an article, that's
Right.
subject to that vote, but the eligibility question was answered.
Oh, yes.
Right.
We went through the same process on the Allen treatments with the lake. That was approved through bond council.
so I guess once we have a quote in hand, I think we need to open that door back with the CPC and
Yeah.
have that
So you mean
discussion
like
early.
budget estimates, because your
Just-
actual quote won't come until you have an
Right.
appropriate, near time.
But if it's gonna be yes or no, I'd rather know that a month before we need to know versus a week before, and then we're scheduling or trying
I'm
to
quite
schedule.
sure both you and the finance committee is very interested in knowing
Okay.
where things stand from a budget planning point of view.
That's what I'm getting at, and I know I'm not trying to be a jerk, I just
Yeah.
don't wanna get, backed up into a corner again, running out of time for things. So, okay.
Well, I mean, ultimately, you can always bring all the groups before you in a meeting, including town council. I mean, that's a settled issue. But like Doug said, whether or not it would be supported is a different issue.
I get that, but I wanna find that out sooner than later, I guess, not.
Fair enough.
Not up against the
Do it
wall.
informal first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Right,
I'll have to.
kind of like
Yeah.
other projects that would
Yeah.
go in front of a board informally before they're formally put in front of them.
Yeah, okay, I agree. Just to get that ball rolling. Not that it's good or bad, but.
No, it's,
You know what I mean?
it's a necessity. I mean,
Right.
there isn't a more important structure or building than this one. I mean, in terms of what it serves.
Yeah.
Council on Aging,
Yeah.
community center,
Absolutely.
meeting space.
All right, anything else for new business?
Yeah, I'd like to, just so we can carry it on a future agenda with the resignation of the conservation coordinator. One thing coming out of the budget process last year, there were multiple members of the finance committee that raised a good point about potentially having somebody more involved on the park and rec side, a kind of a park and rec coordinator, as far as overseeing the usage and utilization of especially Wally Park and other town resources. And I think, given the vacancy on Concom, it would behoove us to have a discussion amongst ourselves at some point to see if that combination of those positions is something that might be compatible with each other when we're going to recruit for this position. And maybe the two combined positions might be more appealing to someone who's looking for, say, full-time work versus a part-time coordinator. We've had problems in the past when we've had positions open that are 26 hours, 27 hours, and invariably we end up increasing the hours and some responsibilities to get good candidates in. So, right, just thinking a little outside the box and saying, hey, that, finance committee raised that up as, we need to look at Park and Rec, work with Park and Rec to see if that's something they're interested in, of course, but also to see if, to continue to grow the utilization of Wally Park and our other facilities, but maybe tie that in with conservation to make that a full-time type position rather than two part-time, and to get a different, you might get a different applicant set. But I think it would be something to discuss further, and we'd have to discuss it with Park and Rec too, and conservation for that matter, right? But something to consider.
All right, so in the meantime, you want to hold off on posting that other position.
That's my opinion. It can't hurt to wait a couple of weeks, right? To have that discussion, and I don't know when and if Park and Rec is going to meet, but have a discussion with them to see if that's something that they'd even entertain, right? It just came out of the budget discussion last year. Last year was just a brutal year for everybody budget-wise that had revenues coming in, and they didn't have any of the parking, they didn't have any of their programs, they didn't rent the pavilion, they had no leagues, so it's kind of, they're gonna have to do kind of a reset this year. But that park is a gem, and they need to get better utilization of it in order to, it actually builds on itself. If they can cover the lighting, they can offer more programs in the evening or rent that out less expensively in the evenings if they get volume. So
Yeah.
You know, a good park and rec person who can do that and attract that kind of quote unquote business to town might be, you know, beneficial. So I think we should have that discussion. And I don't think it's going to kill us to wait a couple of weeks before we post that role. In my opinion.
No, I think that's what I was trying to say earlier was we gotta look at morphing some of these deals.
Yep.
You know, same with our maintenance division, right?
Yeah.
You got the
We
guys
still
at
have
Mo
Bob's.
Park that, and then not,
We have Bob's vacancy too.
we have
Yeah.
Bob's
So that could
vacancy,
sit in, that could be part of that discussion.
but who's in charge of Wally
Maybe
Park
that's a good
mowers?
discussion to have with
Right.
them. I don't,
You know,
yeah.
maybe now
certainly.
that could fall underneath our
Right.
buildings and grounds, the mowing part.
Right, it's, I mean, Hillary's staff, they're taking care of a
They're
lot
doing
of
the
chunks.
restrooms now.
Right, they're over there now doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think we gotta start really looking at all this and
So
not
you-
wait.
you've got a couple
Just start making some
options.
decisions.
Yeah,
and
because
do it.
I mean, some of this may impact the budget for next year, but some of it may not. We need
Right.
to look at that. Yeah.
Thoughts, Mr. Fox?
No, I think we need to get moving on it, so I'm trying to figure out whether we should ask the CAO to begin the conversations with Park and Rec and Conservation, or at least Park and Rec.
Who is chair of Park and Rec?
I think it's Gene.
Gene.
I'll reach out to, if you don't mind, I can.
Yeah.
reach out.
Okay,
I can start that ball rolling.
Okay.
Get that ball rolling so that we can get people together maybe at our next meeting and have an informal chat or do a work session if we have to, because it looks like we're gonna have to have a work session.
And conservation is
Chris.
Chris, I'll reach out to Chris too. Yeah.
And I might as well, since we're talking about Wally Park and Park and Rec and stuff like that, I'll put a plug out for the Southwick Rotary, who is sponsoring concerts for the next 7 Wednesdays here in Southwick at Wally Park. They're able to do this because of funding through the Cultural Council, which gets their money from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and distributes it to, for programs in the town of Southwick. So I'd encourage all Southwick residents or non-Southwick residents to attend and.
Who's the first band?
That's a good question. It's a good
It's a
question.
bluesy-
It's online.
bluesy band.
It's a
Yeah.
bluesy band?
It's on
It's a
their
bluesy
webpage.
band, yeah.
Blues band.
It's online,
that.
all the different.
And I think they'll have beer and wine, won't they? I think we approved that a couple of weeks ago.
And free parking.
And free parking.
Free parking.
What a great night.
And there are lights now
Yes,
at
there is.
Wally Park.
Under the pavilion.
Under the pavilion. So
correct.
no longer will people stumble out in the dark,
Yeah.
but they'll be able to get to their vehicle
You're right,
without
absolutely.
tripping and falling.
Yeah, they weren't done, I mean, you're
Right.
right, COVID came and that kind of.
Right, so that,
Yeah.
Those were done
it
right.
should be a great season for the
Yeah,
town of
CPC
Southwick.
money.
It was
Yeah,
CPC money,
CPC money, yeah. I know. Done.
not historic. Just
Not
kidding.
historical yet. Give it some years. All right, so no new business, we're done.
I got one old business that I forgot.
Anything for old business?
Oh. You first.
I'm good.
We had discussed more than a year ago that after a significant storm, the police were gonna check the rail trail when everything had settled down.
Yeah.
But I think we got a problem out there again. And I think it came up Saturday, and those might have happened a little bit before Saturday. So I think we need to kind of tighten that up.
Yep, I apologize. 1 AM on Saturday, I did get a text that trees were down at the rail trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a lot going on Saturday anyway, but I mean, it was
gonna
just
text
kind of.
Chief Bishop, but I remembered he wasn't the chief
Correct.
anymore.
So we should,
But I
you know,
didn't
we
want to
should
bother
text.
Landis.
How about the LT? He's the safety officer
Yeah.
now, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's right in town.
Who's the safety officer?
Aren't you the safety officer?
Local Emergency Planning Committee.
Oh.
chairman, too.
Well, who do?
Either one of them.
Well, we got them both. Well, one of you's got to take responsibility for the rail.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just
after
kidding.
a storm, can you just do a drive down it? That's all we're
Whoever's
looking for.
whoever's on. Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it.
You know, we know, and I don't, and if it's not an emergency, don't call DPW at 2 AM so I get charged 3 hours. It can wait till the 8 o'clock morning shift. But, yeah, you're right. 1
Right.
AM.
I did ask Randy the other day, and he said they were still busy doing other things.
And that's fine. I just always want to make sure that we're tight on that because I know we had talked about it the
Yeah.
last time and we had to call in a contractor
Right.
because of the size of the lumber, but
How many
Okay.
trees were down?
at least 2. But they're right next to each other in the south end
Yeah,
from Depot going south.
I did get a text at 1 AM. Yeah. Cool. Anything for,
No, sir.
all right, so I believe we're gonna go to executive session?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're gonna adjourn to another room.
Yes, we're in for a small room for executive session. Read that. Thank you. Sorry about the hiccup, folks. We're going to move to go in executive session to conduct collective bargaining sessions with non-union personnel and to not to reconvene in open session. Move to go in executive session to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel and to not to reconvene in open session. Move to go in executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, and that the chair declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the body, and to not reconvene in open session. The chair must move in executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and that the chair declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the body, and to not convene in open session. A person shall have the right against unreasonable, substantial, or serious interference with their privacy. Superior Court shall have jurisdiction and equity to enforce such rights, and in connection therewith to award damages. Joe DDI.
Russ Fox, aye.
Doug Mogul, aye.
That's it, folks. Good night.